Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Krizia, and if you guys haven't watched any of my videos, I am a West Coast U graduate. I graduated from West Coast U January of 2021, took the NCLEX in March of 2021, and then passed, and then got my first RN job June 1st of 2021. So it's officially been 1 year since having my nursing job. And I haven't posted in a while because life has been crazy, life has been hectic, and I'm really trying to get back into it. But I do have some new life updates. I do have a brand new job. So there's a couple things that I'm going to talk about today. So I'm going to be looking at my phone because I have my notes here. So there's 4 things that I'm going to talk about today. So I'm going to talk about my new job, my salary, how much I make now, talking about my new job versus my previous job, which was hospice. And the third thing is why it's important for you to, when you start a new job, have a good orientation program. And the last thing is talking about protecting your license as a new graduate, because that is something I never really understood when people are like, protect your license, protect your license. I'm like, I don't know what that means, you know? Okay, so the very first thing is, yes, I got a brand new job. And with this brand new job, I make $56 an hour now. And it's full time. I work Monday to Friday, so 5 days a week, 8 hours. My hours are from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., which I like a lot, and I love it because I'm done early. I start early. And if you guys want to know what my new job is, I got a job as a home health RN. Okay, and so it has been a very big learning curve for me, just because going from hospice to home health, it's just like such a whole different world. Oh no, you have my slipper, Chance. When we're going back to the pay, $56 an hour, it's roughly around 116, but I do work some overtimes, and there's times where I get extra bonuses if I take on certain things. So after doing overtime and all that stuff, I get roughly around 120K. Even with my previous job, I was making around that time with a lot of overtime. So I rounded up. Anyways, so I'm first going to talk about my new job. And the reason why I didn't leave my previous job, I just decided to go per diem. And so with my previous job, if you guys didn't know, I was a hospice RN, and my hours are from Monday to Friday, so 5 days a week. And my hours are actually from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. And I like that just because I'm not really a morning person, but I end a lot more later. And my problem with that job was that I was driving to LA like almost every day, and I live in Orange County, which is about an hour and a half. And I was an admissions nurse, and so when you're an admissions nurse, you kind of just, your every day is different. I don't know what time I'm gonna go out. I don't know what time I'm gonna be done. Some days we'll get a referral 2 p.m. I'd have to drive to LA at 2 o'clock, and that's like an hour and a half drive. And driving in LA around that time is not fun. You know, I would dread seeing a referral come in and then seeing like, oh, it's in LA, and then I just have to be like, oh, like, it's just such a far drive, and I didn't have control over my schedule, and I just didn't see myself doing that for a longer time. And I brought it up to my directors, I brought it up to my mentors and my supervisors, and said, hey, I want to be a case manager, because as a case manager I have more control of my schedule, and I see the same patients all the time, and in the long run I like creating relationships with my patients and like learning how treatments work over time. And with admissions, I start patients on our hospice services, but then I don't get to see, you know, how they do over time. Like if they start a new medication, if they start new treatments, I don't get to see how that develops over time. And so I don't really learn as much as I would like to. And I wanted to be a case manager, and I felt like that was the route that I wanted to take in terms of long-term and my long-term goals, but we didn't have a big enough caseload for me to take on and have my own case to become a case manager. And so there really wasn't a set time frame for me to become a case manager. Though they kept telling me to wait a little bit, but I didn't have time to wait because I had an opportunity to be part of a bigger company and have a lot more opportunities and learn a lot more and gain a lot more knowledge in terms of like my long-term goals, because I do want to end up getting a master's. I'm not sure if I want to do an NP route. I'm not sure if I want to like do clinical management. Like, I'm just still kind of going with the flow with that. So I decided to take on the opportunity just because I knew that I was going to have a start date. I was getting paid a little more. I was going to be a case manager, and I'm staying in the area that I am with my current home health job. And so I'll be driving around different cities, but I'll be close to home. And I basically am my own boss, technically. So the second thing I wanted to talk about was home health versus hospice. And so, oh my God, I keep saying and so, sorry. Like I mentioned before, home health is such a big learning curve, because with hospice, I didn't do a lot of skills. A lot of it was more pain management and talking to families and trying to explain to them, what's the reality of going on with their family members. And hospice was a little bit more stressful versus home health, just because the patients are DNR, they're at the end of life, and there's really not much that you can do but make them as comfortable as possible. Versus home health, you deal with patients who are full codes. There's a lot of skills, and that includes lab draws, IV infusions, PICC lines, dressing changes, central lines, catheters, wound backs, wound care, med education, post-op patients, ortho patients, patients who are from like 20 to 80, 90 years old, which I'm not used to. I have to know all their different doctors. I have to call different doctors' offices. Like, it's just a higher level of acute care that I wasn't used to with hospice. And I'm dealing with more of my patients who have a brand new onset of a disease, like they suddenly have AFib and they need to take all these medications, or they had a hip replacement and that's brand new, and I have to teach them, medications and managing their pain and all that stuff. Versus hospice are people who literally have had this disease for so long, and it's gotten to a point where like we literally can't do anything about it anymore, that they're at the end of life, if that makes sense. And the biggest thing that I wanted to compare is that with my hospice company, it was a smaller company. Like, it was just basically like owned by this couple, versus working in home health, where I'm actually part of a larger medical group, and that is well known in my area. And so we have so many referrals, and so there's like a constant flow of new patients, versus with my hospice company, it's like we only get 1 to 5 referrals a week. With home health, we get like 55 a day. So it's just like a revolving door, and just more faster paced with home health than it is with hospice. And so far, I've been loving it, just because of the fact that I'm working on my skills. I get to do IVs, PICC lines, like all these stuff that I didn't get to learn. And as a new grad, that was something I really wanted to learn. And when I mentioned hospice, a lot of people were saying, oh, you might like lose all your skills and stuff. But I said, you know what, whatever job you end up going to, you're going to get the experience and you're going to learn those skills. And so that's what I'm doing right now. I'm learning all of these different kind of skills that I never learned as a new graduate, because technically I'm not a new graduate anymore, right? And so with home health, I'm basically with the job that I have right now, I'm basically my own job. I make my own schedule. Hi, Louie. I make my own schedule. I'm my own boss. When I get a new referral, I say, hey, this is on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, or whatever. I could take one new referral every day. I schedule my patients according to how I want to schedule them. I give work to my LVNs if I need help. There's just a lot of things that go on with home health, and just a lot more flexibility, and I have more control of my schedule, which is like something that I wanted in the first place. And it's like basically being my own boss and having my own business. So with home health, they're basically saying, hey, here's a customer. I create my relationship. I start them on our services, and then I keep them on for X amount of however long I get to keep them on for our services. So if you guys are interested of me going over more on home health and like my day to day and like how that's been, I'll definitely be making another video about that. The third thing I wanted to talk about is orientation, and making sure that when you get a new job, that you ask a lot of questions in regards to how are they preparing you for your new position. And the reason why I say this is because I'm going to compare how my experience was starting as a new graduate, or starting with a new job with a smaller company versus starting with a larger company. And it was a very, very big difference. So When I first started with my hospice job, I made sure that I had a lot of support, and I did from my people at my job, my directors and my nurses, and I'd reach out to them a lot. But I would say that my training for that wasn't as extensive as it was with my current home health job. And I feel like that's important because there's a lot of places that are literally going to hire you and then just push you out and expect you to like do whatever they tell you to do. And that is a big red flag, because you don't want that. You want a company that'll let you know, like, hey, you need to make sure you get your training first and make sure that you do it all right before you start taking on a whole caseload. So with home health, how it works is I have to do a productivity of 28 visits a week, which is about 5 to 6 visits a day with my patients. And that takes me about 5 to 6 hours, and the rest of it is basically just charting. And so this job, they were pushing for me to like just take on 28 patients, but I had mentors, I had nurses telling me, tell them no, tell them you need to take your time to build your caseload, and you don't want to just suddenly take on this whole bunch of cases and then feel like you're drowning. And I didn't get that with my hospice. They didn't just put me out there, but I did kind of felt like I pushed myself out there because I wanted to. But with my new company that I work with right now, they're very diligent and calling me, asking me questions, and making sure that I'm doing everything correctly, just because there's so much more to than just going and seeing a patient. We have to deal with insurances, we have to deal with supplies, we have to deal with PT, OT, like all these different other collaborations that I'm not used to when I'm doing hospice. So if you don't get the proper training initially, this includes charting, this includes like what you're supposed to be doing correctly, the forms that you have to fill out correctly. If you're not doing that right, that could mess up the whole entire care for your patients. And with my job, I'm currently training I did orientation for 2 weeks, and I would have 2 to 3 hour lectures like almost every day on case management, wounds, how to put in physician orders, how to chart certain things, because charting when it comes to home health and hospice, a lot of it is you need to chart correctly, because if you don't chart correctly, Medicare, whatever insurance company, can look at your charting and say, hey, you didn't do this right, I'm not going to pay you for it. So that's why it's so important for these companies to train us correctly, because then they'll put it on you and say, we taught you this, you should know what you're doing, if that makes sense. And the last thing that I wanted to talk about is protecting your license. So after like working 1 year as a nurse, I'm still naive to the idea of protecting your license, just because I feel like you won't really know what it means to protect your license until you get yourself into trouble or like something bad happens. And I've been learning a lot of that. And so a lot of it is basically like covering your ass on everything that you do, charting everything, making sure you do what you're supposed to do. And, if the patient is non-compliant with it, then that's not your fault. As long as if you do what you need to do, you're covered. But a lot of the times when it came to like my job and what I'm doing, a lot of my supervisors and directors would ask me questions like, if you were to go to court and they would look at your documentation, can you prove to them that you did this or that or this and X? And they would say, oh, if a nurse told you to do something and you did it, would that nurse back you up, on that decision that you made? Because sometimes they won't. Sometimes they'll put you under the bus. And so if you have nurses and other people that you're working with telling you to do something that you don't feel comfortable in doing, say no. Okay, I have people emailing me telling me, hey, can you see this patient? Hey, can you take on this patient? And if I don't feel comfortable doing it, I'm going to say no, because it's my license and not theirs. And so if they're telling me to do something that's putting your license on the line and jeopardizing your license, you're the one that's going to get affected. If you lose that license, you can't practice as a nurse, and then basically your whole entire career will be messed up, right? Like, it's not good. And there's a lot of legal stuff when it comes to nursing and like the decisions that you make. And so it's so good to just reach out to another nurse that you trust, ask them questions and say, hey, I felt weird about this. Let me like ask you for some help. And so if you need help, ask for it. If you feel comfortable in not doing something, say no. Don't feel bad about it, because you shouldn't feel bad for saying no. You know, if they're telling you to walk into your job and you have a 6 to 8 patient ratio, you're gonna say no, you're protecting your license and you're walking away. Okay, so that's the most important thing to think about. And those are the things that I really just wanted to mention in today's video and just kind of give an update. And I really am gonna start doing more like daily vlogs to show you guys how it is to be home health outpatient, and just how much I've enjoyed doing it, just because I just have so much autonomy and so much freedom, like working for myself and saying no to certain things and having control over my schedule and being able to see patients in their homes. It's like a whole different type of nursing. So I'm so excited to start this journey. There's a lot of videos that I want to make. I want to make videos about my financials, like managing all of that stuff, because a lot of people have questions in terms of like loans, especially with West Coast U. I want to do more videos on that. And then I also want to, again, just do daily vlogs on home health. So if you guys found this video helpful, go ahead and give it a like, and also don't forget to subscribe so that you don't miss any of my new videos. Thank you.